Just giving you a heads up, like, it's about to get really uncomfortable in here. Just so you know. Hey guys, this is Kim. Welcome back to my channel, Fables Stan, and I'm super happy that you're here. Just a little heads up, we're about to get really uncomfortable, especially if you identify as a people pleaser, or if you identify as a recovering people pleaser, or you just notice yourself having people pleasing tendencies. This video is going to disrupt your narrative because I'm going to share with you the 3 things that my sovereignty coach shared with me that really disrupted my narrative, that really changed the way I looked at my relationships, and also the way I looked at myself, and also the way I looked at the world. And it was just, I was shook when I had to learn this. I was shook when I needed to confront these uncomfortable truths within myself. And hopefully this video will help you to, just give you a different outlook on your life. And if you're on a personal development journey like me, if you're seeking to level up, then hopefully this video will help you. But just giving you a heads up, like, it's about to get really uncomfortable in here. Just so you know. So if you don't wanna go down that road, click off this video right now. So before we dive in, I feel like I need to just quickly share with you what a sovereignty coach is, who my sovereignty coach is. My coach, by the name of Sari Miller, is my sovereignty coach, and she is a sovereignty coach because she is a spiritual life coach that specializes in helping us, or helping her clients, find sovereignty within. Breaking free from systems, breaking free from norms, breaking free from our conditioning, finding sovereignty within. She also specializes in helping people like me, who identify as a people pleaser, an empath, and a highly sensitive person. And she's just amazing. If you are looking for transformation and just like deep excavation work, where you dive into your shadows, where you really examine your limiting beliefs, and also like combined with somatic therapy and energy healing, she's just like a magician. When I was facing my dark night of the soul last year, it's like she really helped me so much. So if you're looking for a coach, if you're feeling called to work on yourself and really dive deep into your psyche, and just like, so you can dig all the garbage and all the psychic gunk there, oh my god, you need to hit up Sari Miller because she's fucking amazing. Okay, so without further ado, here are the 3 things that my sovereignty coach shared with me. 3 major truth bombs that she just dropped on my psyche. 3 uncomfortable truths that I needed to confront within in order to receive healing, in order to open my heart and grow and level up, and also just break out of my toxic cycle as a people pleaser. So here we go. 3 uncomfortable truths that I needed to confront as a recovering people pleaser. So the first one is a really hard one, so brace yourself for this. If you identify as a people pleaser, this one might be a shock to you, but all people pleasers are liars. And I fought really hard with this one because I thought that, when you identify as a people pleaser and you see yourself as a people pleaser, you tend to have similar relationships dynamics, and you always see yourself as the good one, the kind one, the one that was so giving, the one that was so forgiving. But why? Why did this toxic person fall into your lap? And we don't think of ourselves as liars. We don't think of people pleasing as liars. In fact, we usually see ourselves as the one that suffers, as the one that is the victim. Like, we have to forgo our boundaries. We weren't respected, all that. But we are liars. And I fought really hard with this one. I really did not want to see myself as a liar, but it was true. Of course we are liars. Of course people pleasers are liars. We forgo our boundaries all the time. We are dishonest with ourselves, and we tell lies to ourselves to tell the lies to other people, right? Every time we hide our opinion, every time we say yes to something we actually want to say no to, every time we pretend to like something, every time we pretend to go to something that we didn't enjoy, that we still say yes to, every time we make up excuses because we were too scared to say no, or just to express ourselves or express our opinions and our boundaries. Say whatever you want to say, but that's lying. That's lying. And maybe you don't think that it's costing other people, but it's first and foremost costing you. Is costing your honesty, your living you're being dishonest with yourself. You're bypassing yourself. You're gaslighting yourself. So that's the first level of this lie. And the second level of this lie, you're also pretending to be someone you're not, right? You're projecting this persona that you have carefully curated in order to gain the approval of the other person. And in order to maintain that image, you are required to lie. That's what people pleasers do. You please other people by lying to yourself, lying about your boundaries, lying about your interests, lying about your opinions in order to stay safe. And this is not to blame, this is not to place blame, or this is not to kind of like point a finger and be like, haha, you're a liar. But it's like so important to recognize, especially if we want to embark on the path of authenticity, because truth and honesty is so important when you're healing from people-pleasing trauma, because you really need to just reclaim that place of honesty within yourself. And recognizing this for me was a huge step, recognizing that actually to get out of uncomfortable situations or conversations or uncomfortable things that I didn't want to say to people, I lied. And a lie is basically telling something that's not true. And when I said yes to something I wanted to say no to, that's a lie, because I didn't want to do that thing. I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to talk to this person, but I said yes. And that is a lie. No matter how you spin it, it's a lie. And I know when we think of lying, we think of something like more intentional and more dramatic or more just clear cut, but lying is when you're not telling the truth, when you're saying something that's not real, when you're saying something that's not aligned with what you actually want to say or what you desire to do. That's lying. And this one sucked, okay? This one punched me in the gut, because I really, really did not want to see that in myself. I always thought of myself as the good one, the one that suffered all the boundary, the one that gave so much. But people pleasers are liars. So yeah, that was the first thing I needed to confront. It was ugly and it was disgusting. I hated it, but it was necessary, and I'm really glad that I went through it. The second uncomfortable truth that I needed to confront as a people pleaser was that all people pleasers are toxic givers. So I already mentioned this when I was talking about the first truth, that people pleasers, we tend to see ourselves as the one that suffered, right? We tend to have this narrative about how we forgo our boundaries for the other person, how we did so much and gave so much, and we were so kind and so this and that, but it just wasn't reciprocated. We try so hard, right? We keep trying and trying. We keep thinking that the more we give, the more effort we put in, we're gonna change this person. We're gonna make them see that how lovable we are, how lovable we are. And it really is a goose chase. It really is chasing a carrot on a stick, because first and foremost, we're not offering that love and acceptance and validation to ourselves. We're seeking it from something external, and we all know how that goes, right? Because when you don't have that within, it's impossible to find it without, and at best it's just this fleeting addictive feeling of like, oh, this person has given me their approval for just the briefest of seconds, and then you need to chase it again because you don't have that reservoir in you. So toxic people pleasers are toxic givers. We give and we give, and we kind of use that as a coping mechanism, right? And this one kind of bleeds into number one. It's also like it's an extension of number one. It also bleeds into number two a little bit, because basically when we're not honest with ourselves, we start to forgo our needs. We bypass our own emotions in order to stay in this perfect, perfectly curated image. So in order to gain the approval and validation from other people. And as a result, because we keep thinking that we're the giver, we're so kind, we did this and we did that, we're the ones that sacrificed, we tend to have a lot of resentment build up in a relationship, right? It doesn't really matter if the person is actually kind or if they're actually good or just different or whatever. It doesn't really matter what they do. When we have the self-victimizing mentality and we perceive ourselves as the ultimate giver, the ultimate sacrifice, that we do so much, and we have this sort of like martyrdom that we wrap around our shoulders, that we kind of like display to ourselves or maybe to others, that we complain about how unreciprocated we are or how uncaring the other person is. We are trapped in this loop, this echo chamber of resentment, this echo chamber of feeling unrequited, feeling unreciprocated, and it doesn't really matter what the reality actually is. That is our reality. And the reality of this for people pleasers, for us, is that recovering people pleaser, let me just correct that. The reality is that it's toxic. We're toxic givers. Like the more we give, we think that that's somehow going to redeem ourselves, and we get trapped into this negative loop, like in this downward spiral, this slippery slope down resentment land, because we're not really interacting with the people around us. We're just projecting, and we are trapped. We are giving away our power by thinking that this is the only way that it has to be, and that we're victims, and there's nothing else we can do, because like, well, the only thing we think we can do is to give more, and we give more, we feel more unreciprocated, and then we grow resentful. And to counter that, and to counter the anxiety that we experience because we are so scared that people are not going to approve of us, we give some more and people please some more, and we give more of ourselves. We just keep giving and giving. We sacrifice more and more of ourselves, and then we feel resentful. So you get stuck in this loop, and you get stuck in the same kinds of relationships, because it's a toxic cycle. We're toxic givers. This one was a little easier to stomach because I already got, like, you know, face planted and just like hit in the face with the first one, that all people pleasers are liars. That one was super hard, and it was the first one. I like masochistically kind of loved it a little, because I love learning more about myself always, no matter how hard and how uncomfortable it's gonna be. I secretly love it. I love growing, I love leveling up. But yeah, this one wasn't as hard as the first one, to be honest. Like, this one was just like, okay, I can see it. Like, this makes a lot of sense to me. Like, this is sort of like the perspective that I needed to move on to the next step. I feel like after I stomached the first one, like all people pleasers are liars, everything else is kind of easy. Like, everything else is easier. Like, it's just kind of downhill from there. Or it's like, I already got hit with the one that was the most painful for me anyway, personally. How bad could it get? So this is the second one, like the second uncomfortable truth that my sovereignty coach threw at me, that I really needed to process and digest. Okay, uncomfortable truth number 3. I am responsible for making myself known. This one is sort of obvious, but it's really hard in practice. Like, I am responsible for making myself known. One thing that people pleasers struggle with, and that I struggle with a lot, was communicating my needs. Because first of all, what needs? I had no need. People pleasers constantly forgo their needs in order to please others, in order to stay safe in a relationship, in order to stay invisible. So, you know, if they can't see us, they can't hurt us, right? So it's kind of like a warped logic that people pleasers have. I am responsible for making myself known. I need to communicate my own needs. This is really hard, because to do that, I need to recognize my needs in the first place. And how do I find my needs? How do I find what my needs are when I lived without my needs for so many years? And this one was incredibly difficult for me, because it just, I did not admit to any of my needs at all. What needs? I didn't have needs. I gave up my needs a long time ago, because I couldn't get what I needed. I couldn't get what I needed from my relationships, and the only way to survive the pain of that was to just forget all about needs together. So one thing that was really challenging for me on my recovering people-pleasing journey was actually recognizing that I had needs, and figuring out what those needs were, and understanding more about myself and what I needed, and actually reclaiming those needs and actually feeling them, allowing myself to feel them, allowing myself to find them, allowing myself to figure them out, allowing myself to sit with them and actually saying them out loud and communicating with another person. Ooh, that one was hard in the sense that I really needed to be so conscious and work so hard to see it, to reclaim it, to make an effort to reach for it, because I just spent so many years foregoing my own needs, gaslighting myself, bypassing myself. That's what people pleasing is, right? You bypass yourself to keep safe, to stay safe, and also to make the other person feel safe, so they don't feel threatened, so they wouldn't lash out at you, because, well, you're tending to their needs and you're forgoing your own needs. They don't have to worry about you, so you're safe by default. But it's like excruciating, it's suffering, because you're denying your own existence and you're living an inauthentic and dishonest life, especially within and with yourself. So that's suffering. You need to make your needs known. You need to communicate yourself. You need to make yourself known. You can't just be perceived and other people are going to understand you completely. That was one of the things I really struggled with, was like, I just had this like really insane assumption that, well, people are just gonna know what I need, right? Because that's what I do for other people. I think it's like, the norm. I think like, okay, people should just know. Like, people should just know, right? It's like people should just know what my needs are, because I am always anticipating what their needs are. I'm always anticipating what their boundaries are. So they should be doing the same thing with me, right? And this kind of like touches on the second point, like, and this, you know, because this also breeds a lot of resentment, because we expect the others to do the same for us. We expect others to exist in the same way as us. We want them to anticipate our needs like the way we're doing for them. And when we don't get that, we fall into that self-victimizing loop again, and it's just never ending, right? You know, all people pleasers suffer from the invisible wound, the wound of feeling unheard and unseen. And this is why. It's because we have never practiced recognizing our own needs and also communicating those needs, and also working and just workshopping them, letting them know what you need, etc. Like, this could be a whole new video. Like, this could be a standalone video just talking about needs. That's another thing I have to confront, was like I needed to make myself known. Like, I needed to learn about what my needs are, and I need to tell that to people, because how would they know? How would they know? Like, how would they know? That's hard, because it's like, well, aren't people just supposed to know? And yeah, like, this is kind of like another thing that people pleasers struggle with, is like, we like to assume what other people's boundaries are. We like to assume that they're supposed to do the same thing that we're doing for them. We basically live in the world of our own making, really. So again, this is not to blame, or this is not to say like you're responsible for everything that's happened to you. It's like, well, no, because a lot of the times we become people pleasers is because we have to deal with a lot of toxicity. It's because we have to deal with a lot of drama and trauma. And that's why we develop that fawning response, because it's a drama response. So this is not to say like this is all your fault, but it's sort of saying like, you know, despite what happens, you are in charge of your own life. You need to invest in your healing. You need to practice. And for me, that was definitely the case. Like, I was resentful for so long, you know, like learning about these 3 different things. There's a lot more that I learned from my sovereignty coach and also cultivated within, but having this toxic loop of people pleasing and staying invisible and wondering why I'm still invisible, wondering why my needs aren't met, like, and also just not knowing that I had needs in general. Doing this work has really helped me disrupt that. It really helped me break the pattern. That was the exact pattern breaker that I needed to just end that cycle and to just end that karma and be done with it. It was incredibly difficult, but it was incredibly worthwhile. It was incredibly transformative. It was alchemy and shadow work magic and healing all at once. It was just this incredible transformation journey that I got to embark on, and I'm so glad that I met my coach. I'm so glad I put in the work, and I'm so glad that I dedicated and committed to myself and my well-being to learn all about this and to really just grow from that. So yeah, this is kind of like my little takeaway from after learning about the uncomfortable truths that comes with being a people pleaser, because we desperately we love to see ourselves as the good one, the sacrificing one, the one that gave her all. But a lot of times it wasn't the case. It was like self-perpetuated suffering in many ways. And I'm saying this with a lot of compassion, because sometimes I do feel like, why didn't I realize this earlier? Why couldn't I do this sooner? At all times, we're always doing the best that we could. At the time, I did the best that I could, and this is what healing is all about. The better it gets, the better it gets. And it's just all part of the journey. And I hope that if you're resonating with this video, or if you're triggered by this video, just know that I was extremely triggered too. So we're on the trigger boat together. I know. You're feeling some type of way. Just know that I know. It's why I'm doing this video, to share with you just how uncomfortable it all was. And it was disgusting, but it was also miraculous and amazing. And I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I looked within and remained honest and just did all that work. And I'm really proud of myself for withstanding that. My coach is a ninja. She really is. And she's just so awesome. My camera totally overheated and I'm just filming the outro now. Anywho, I hope you resonated with the video. If you did, comment below and let me know how you're feeling, what you're thinking. If you feel triggered in any type of way, if you feel uncomfortable, well, I guess the video has done its job. And I also want to let you know that all is well. This is a safe space and these are just some things to consider. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Follow me for more self-reflections and more shenanigans on my journey to explore and find my lost selves in my fantastical innerscapes. That is my own personal fable. Until then, I'll see you next time and peace!